You're listening to SM Media, the number one place for exclusive Scottish football content.
Hi folks, and welcome to the latest episode of the SM Media Scottish Football Show. I'm your host, Scott McPike. It's an absolute pleasure to be your host as always. Delighted in this week's episode, we've got a very special guest. It's an absolute pleasure to welcome the Dumbarton manager, Stevie Farrell. Stevie, welcome to the show. It's a pleasure to have you on.
Thanks, Scott. Thanks for the invite.
No, it's a pleasure. It's one of those kind of quiet weeks. Obviously, Dumbarton didn't have a game, and we've not got a lot of league stuff to talk about. So, really happy that you've agreed to come on in the show, and we'll obviously talk about Scotland over the weekend. But obviously, Dumbarton start to the season as well. How you been? First of all, how's it been to get back into the kind of the swing of things? The season starting. We're still early days, but you must be delighted with how the season's went so far.
Listen, it's hard. I said it last week to a reporter. It's seeing the lower leagues, League One, League Two, even the Championship. It's hard to put on a consecutive wins together. You normally, if you put 2 or 3 together, you're doing really well in these leagues. So to put 7 together was fantastic. And at the start of the season, that just gives us a platform and a base. But that's all it is. We're not getting carried away, Scott. There's no egos running about the start that we've had, and that's important. That we just and obviously last Tuesday night against Stranraer, we were well beaten on the night, and that kind of just gave us a reality check. If MD was getting carried away, that this league's a tough league, and you've got to be at it every single week to get anything. But for 7 weeks in a row, there we were really good. And then on Tuesday night, we just fell below those standards and got exactly what we deserve. So that's what this league, League Two, League One, the Championship, that's what these leagues are about.
Mm-hmm. Obviously, when I kind of last spoke to you, it was kind of last year. You were obviously still at Stranraer. Like going to Dumbarton, obviously you've been there with Stevie, and you've had this time where you went for Stranraer as an assistant to Dumbarton as an assistant, then Stranraer as a manager to Dumbarton as a manager. It's been a weird kind of merry-go-round for yourself. But obviously, what was it kind of when you decided to go to Dumbarton and take that job as manager? What was it like? Was it the kind of past background you had with the club that kind of made you want to go back there and kind of feel as if there was unfinished business? Is that fair to say?
I think in terms of the structure of the club and the stadium itself and the location of the club, I said this when I was with Dumbarton in the Championship. I think Dumbarton's potentially as big a part-time club as you'll get in Scotland. I just think everything about the club is right for it to be successful. When I went back and spoke to the directors before I took the job last year, we knew it was a rebuild job. We knew it was probably going to be an exercise. I certainly didn't want to get relegated as we did, but that was never part of the plan. And I'm not going to sit on here and make any excuse that it was, because it certainly wasn't. But sometimes that step back can help you when you're trying to look at the club and look at everything, the structure of the club. I mean, for instance, we didn't even have any youth development in place.
Yeah.
Did that in the last 18 months. We've put a youth structure in place, and we've got people working behind the scenes in that as well now. So there's a number of things that attracted me to the club, and it was probably the project and a wee bit longer term project. I would never have left Stranraer. I love Stranraer. I think they're a fantastic club, fantastic people. They treated me very well when I was there as assistant and as manager, and I'll never say a bad word about the club. But football evolves. Managers evolve, players evolve, and you get opportunities, and sometimes you just get a gut feeling that the opportunity is right for you. And I just felt that last year it was right for me at Dumbarton. And we had a difficult season last year, a challenging season, but you learn most in those seasons sometimes. And we worked hard in the close season there to look at everything and analyse everything about the club, about where we went wrong, right, good games, bad games, all analysis. And we tried to rebuild, most importantly, with the structure in terms of our recruitment this year, and get it right for League Two. And so far, so good. But as I say, it's early doors. We're not getting carried away, but certainly we've given ourselves a platform to build on this season.
And last season, obviously, you mentioned being kind of getting relegated wasn't part of the plan, but I think back to that kind of 4-1 defeat to Edinburgh, who have obviously started really well in League One. Could you see that they were a developing side, and was that kind of a shock to the system when you get relegated to when you lost to Edinburgh?
So when you get in the playoffs, and I've been in the playoffs on both sides of it, the promotion playoffs and the relegation playoffs, and you've probably not done enough, Scott, if we're absolutely honest, if you're in a relegation playoff and you're the second bottom team in the division. So we hadn't done enough over the season. The Edinburgh games, Edinburgh beat us fair and square over the 2 games, I believe, and deservedly got their place in League One. But for me, it was about the season. We had 36 games and we just weren't at it. We didn't do the right things. We recruited too quickly last year because we came in the door late. There was just a lot of things that I looked at as a manager that I took responsibility that, and not just about the results, about everything at the club. That we just didn't get it right. We didn't have enough analysis. We didn't have good enough. I tried to get a sports scientist in and couldn't get one, and we just settled for probably too many second prizes last year, all about everything about the football club. So this year I think we've got the structure in place. We've had a lot more time to look at it during the close season, and hopefully we've got it right this season. So, but you learn for times of adversity, and we had that last year, and we've got to make sure that we do learn that and we don't make the same mistakes again.
Yeah, and looking into the club, there's new owners as well, and they've said that they want to eventually go down the road of full time once the resources are there. Was it the that as well? Like when the new owners come in, like how excited were you when they were bringing in their vision and things like that, and how they've been so far?
They've been good, Scott. I mean, I have a good relationship with everybody at the club, and I did when I was there previously as well. So it was good to come back to familiar faces, and that stability behind the scenes always helps as well. But in terms of a project, a 4 or 5 year, a manager can't plan any more than 6 months these days, and that's just a harsh reality. You just look at the merry-go-round. So I've been lucky to be in this. I said that to somebody the other day. I've been lucky now to be doing this, between assistant manager and manager for 11 years now. And I feel very, very fortunate to do that, because you look at some better managers than me and better assistant managers than me, and they don't last in the game more than a year, and then they're looking for another job, and that's just the merry-go-round. So you can't plan 3, 4, 5 years. It'd be great if you could, but the harsh reality is you've got to go in with a short-term plan, and hopefully that kicks you onto that medium-term goal, and then hopefully, if you're still there and doing a decent enough job, that you can get that longer-term approach.
Mm-hmm. And obviously going down to League Two, obviously when you were at Dumbarton, the first time you were in the Championship, and you took over when the club were in a really good position in the Championship. To go for League Two, to go into League Two now, like we've seen it in the past few years with likes of Brecon and Cowdenbeath been good examples. Once they get relegated from that second tier, they find it difficult to get out that ruck. How important is it for Dumbarton and yourself in particular to stop that? And obviously, as you say, you've started the season really well, but is it more about using this, the relegation as a point where you look at it and go, right, we need to get back to where we were quickly, because if you don't stabilise at that point, and it could go that way.
Absolutely, but that's where you've got to trust yourself. You've got to trust the people running about. You've got to trust the club. You've got to trust the club that will support you in terms of your recruitment, because your recruitment's key. And this year, we tried to get that balance between League One players who have played League One most of their career, and that the people who understood League Two, and try and take that balance and that initiative that's going to take you forward with that structure. So, I did it previously in League Two with Stranraer. So League Two is a difficult league. I look this year and there's no gimmies. You look at every game. I was up at Forfar yesterday, my day off, looking at Forfar still in their next 2 games, and another competitive game. And Forfar, still are in behind, tucked in behind us. Forfar, are sitting, towards the bottom end of the table. But for the first 25 minutes, Forfar were the better side. And I think everybody in Stirling would be honest enough to admit that. And then the boy Slater gets carried off, who was having a big influence in the game in the first 25 minutes. So in League Two, there's good players. There's players who understand it, and there's good teams. And you've got to do both sides of the game. You've got to be really, really good out of possession and without the ball in League Two. And then when you get the ball, and go and play in the top end of the pitch, you've got to have players who've got that wee bit quality. And hopefully we've recruited to have that both sides of the game this year in League Two and give ourselves a chance. And
that's when you look at the squad you've got this season. Like as you say, there's a really good mixture of experience, like Gregor Buchanan, Stuart Carswell's in there as well, Ali Love. There's a lot of really experienced players, but you look at obviously a couple of players you brought in over the summer. Finlay Gray from Broomhill, who I've raved about for a long time, is a really good player, especially at this level. We like Declan Byrne, who's hit the ground running as well. But 2 players I want to touch on that that obviously I've spoke to a few times and obviously rave a bit of their time at Dumbarton so far. Greg Wild coming in obviously is had that really good experience. Obviously won the SPL, but more another one as well that you brought in just a couple of months ago, John Gemmell. I mean, there's a lot of really good players in that team. How good's it been to get that kind of balance? And obviously with the likes of John and Greg, a lot of good experience in there. And how key have they been so far to your start?
I've been start. I mean, last year, if you take Gregor Buchanan, for instance, consistency is everything at every level, Scott. Consistency in selection, consistency in partnerships, all about the team. I know we're going on to speak about Scotland, later, but you look at the two performances with Scotland, has Steve been able to pick that consistent team and selection over the last two games definitely helps. And Gregor Buchanan last year, I think, had 10 different centre-half partners.
Yeah.
And the centre-half, for instance, is one of the most important partnership areas that you'll get in any team, in terms of having that continuity. And this year, him and Stuart Carswell in particular, have been excellent for me in that position because they've played really, really well. And performances, I always say this to players, it's performances that pick teams. It's not necessarily players, it's not necessarily reputations, it's performances. Well, it certainly is with me. And if players go on and do well, then that continuity is easy. I mean, it's easy to continue to pick players when you're winning games and the performances are good. But like Greg Wild, if you take Greg Wild, for instance, I think any manager will tell you this, in terms of how you're rated as a manager with your players, it's not sometimes for the players that's playing, because players love you in the words of the song. Players love you when they only love you when they're playing. But sometimes it's players that are no playing that you've got to manage them right. And Greg has not played a lot for me this year. And he's not been able to get in the team because Mark McNiff's been doing really, really well. Yeah. But just having that conversation with Greg, he's mature, he's played at a really, really good level, and he gets it and he understands it, and he's just got to wait for his opportunity. And he's the first to tell you that. And that's the types of players that you want at your football club. Bringing John to the club. I played in over 35s with John, and how I got to see him. I'd worked against John Gemmell over the years, obviously, when he was at Stennismuir and other clubs, but I didn't really know John as an individual. But the minute he came into 35s, I liked him as a lad. I liked his attitude and his application. That means a lot to me. And then, we were looking for that type of striker. We've got Declan Byrne, we've got Ryan Wallace, I think, who are good strikers, who are decent mobility, who'll go and run channels, who'll go and break lines, disrupt back fours. But we just needed that. We just needed that striker who was a wee bit different. And John fitted that ilk, and he came in, he's worked really hard with the sports scientists and got himself probably in the best shape his career. And I'll be honest with you, Scott, he's been a great addition for us so far. So may it continue.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned there obviously about the kind of quality of the league, and we were doing obviously our season preview a couple of months ago, and this was the one league we were like, I think with 4 of us on and with 4 different answers of who would win the league. And that was the thing as well. Like, it's so stacked with so many good teams at a good level. Like yourselves in East Fife obviously coming into it, Bonnyrigg coming up, you had Forfar and Annan in there. There's a lot of really good teams in that division. Have you found that so far? Like, there's a lot of really high class opposition.
It's like I said, people in the Championship will not consider League Two as high class opposition. People in League One, probably at the top end of League One, will not consider League Two, with the greatest respect, as high class opposition. But when you come into League Two, it takes a special type of team to win it. Because this season, the teams you've mentioned, you throw Stirling in there, Stranraer in there, Stennismuir in there. Every single team is capable on their day, and that's proven. That's probably how we've got the small gap that we've got. We've won games consistently, where other teams have been beating each other and taking points each other, and drawing games as well, because the games are so tight, and that's how we've managed to get that slight march. But ultimately, the season's about 36 games, and it's certainly not about the middle of September or the end of September, and every club knows that. We know that at Dumbarton and Stennismuir and Stirling, Albion, tucked in behind us will be knowing that there's so much football still to be played. But if you're going to win this league and be successful in this league, then you can be absolutely assured you'll learn it.
Yeah, definitely. And it's, as we say, it's such a high class league, but he's obviously had a really good start. He's won your first 7 games. Obviously the game against Stranraer was a kind of weird game as well. It was there was a lot happening, there was a lot going on. I remember getting updates, and there seemed to be a lot of action. And the only kind of blemish in the season apart from that was obviously the defeat to Rangers in the SPFL Trust Trophy. What was that like to take? Because it was it was one that was out of the blue. I know Rangers B have obviously got a lot of really good young players, but it was a 7-0 defeat. Was it just an overall bad night, or were Rangers just really impressive on the night?
First of all, Rangers were very, very good. You know, I think we made 8 or 9 changes that night, and we involved one of the young lads as well for the youth development. So I don't regret that. I don't regret getting people game time. Ultimately, you know, the SPFL Trust trophy, and I'm not going to disrespect it, but it's not my priority. You know, other managers will have different priorities, and that's the way we all work differently. But it's certainly not my priority. You know, the league is our priority this year, so I made the decision to make those changes in that evening. And you know, I listened to Robbie Nielsen in the radio last week actually, and he made a good point when they came back for Europe. The last time he made 6 changes and they get defeated on the Sunday, and he came back this time and only made, you know, after the most recent one, only made I think 2 or 3, and they went and beat Motherwell. So you know, sometimes it doesn't matter if the squad's good enough and you trust your squad. But you know, Celtic being an example, it's a Mum. You know, 2 weeks ago I think he made 6 or 7 changes. Yeah. St Mirren turned them over. So sometimes you can make too many changes, Scott, you know, and you can just take that rhythm out of your game, take that continuity out of your selection, and it can be just too many at once. And I think probably on that evening it was a case of that. Yeah,
I think that's fair to say. But we'll touch obviously a wee bit later on about Dumbarton and obviously what's coming up for you. Is a lot of actions come up, plus a big Scottish Cup tie that I'm keen to get your thoughts on. But over the past few days, Scotland have been in action. Scotland obviously faced Ukraine on Wednesday night, a big opportunity in the Nations League to get a victory against the Ukraine side. Obviously, with a lot to prove after the defeat in the World Cup playoff. Stevie, we're Scotland fans. We always worry with Scotland that it's just going to be a bad night, and the performance just won't be up to the standard we hope for. But on Wednesday night, it was such a breath of fresh air to see just how good this Scotland team played. Second half, I mean, first half wasn't really up to much, but second half, once they got going, they created so many chances, and eventually John McGinn get the breakthrough. How refreshing was it to see a really high-class Scotland performance, which I think this was on Wednesday?
It was good, and particularly after the summer, you know, we obviously went to the Republic of Ireland and get turned over, and we'd lost a couple just getting into that game. So there was a wee bit of a test, a wee bit of pressure that comes with Scottish media as happens. You know, you lose 2 games and all of a sudden, you know, we're X, Y, and Z. But certainly the team went and applied itself. Steve changed the shape Wednesday night in terms of what he'd been playing previously.
Do you think that worked?
I think it worked. I think it worked. I think the players, again, you know, you can have any philosophy as a manager you want, but it'll always be with the players that's at your disposal. And I just think the players he had at his disposal and the players that he wanted to play, that shape suited them. I think the shape suited them on Wednesday night. They could go and press high in that shape, knowing that they had the back four that was the 2 full backs sort of a wee bit deeper in terms of on Wednesday night with the 2 centre backs. But and on, you know, normally when you play a 4-3-3 as he did, and in terms of pressing that high, you normally have one sitting out the game of the midfield. Didn't he? If you looked at it, his 6 went and pressed really, really high up the pitch, and were brave, and we got the rewards. And I thought, you know, thoroughly deserved it. And I thought when we did get in possession of the ball, it wasn't just about how we pressed without it and how we went and got it back. When we were in possession, we went and really created really good chances, and there was good patterns of play. So no, I thoroughly deserved the win.
Who kind of players stood out to you? Like for me, I thought Shea Adams was magnificent. I thought he was very unlucky to be dropped kind of last night, but there was so many really impressive performances in that Scotland team on Wednesday, I thought.
Listen, when you play that shape, your 9, you know, as I describe it, your 9 needs to be, your 9's isolated a lot of the time, you know, in terms of, you know, and sometimes rather than taking one touch, where they've got people, when you play that 2 up top, you can sometimes go and pop it off to that striker who's up there with you, or that 10, if there's a 10 playing higher up the pitch. But sometimes in that shape, the 9's got to, you know, live with the ball a wee bit more. He's got to be in possession, got to take more touches and secure it for you to allow players to get in touch with him. And I thought he did that fantastically well. Do you know, I think he plays a similar role in terms of his Southampton as well. So it probably suited him. London's a wee bit different. You come on, he's wanting to go and win flick-ons where people go and break the lines off him. But with Shea Adams, he's different. You know, you can put it into him, and you know, he secures the ball well to allow people to get in touch. So he did that very well the other night there.
And see, obviously, like that as well, obviously from a manager's perspective, like Lyndon Dykes obviously come on, scored the 2 goals. I think he felt a massive relief. I think it was something like he hadn't scored in 15 games for QPR. Like, when you're in that position and you've got a striker who scored 2 goals, but you've also got Shea Adams, who's been so effective in the game before, how hard is it to make that call about who goes into the next game? Because I think that was a massive call. Like, it's a tough one to get right, isn't it? Like, what would you have went for? Would you have went for Dykes and his goal scoring form, or do you think Adams was unlucky to be dropped?
I think Adams was very unlucky to be dropped, but I can understand why Steve went for Lyndon Dykes, because I think actually because it wasn't, you weren't playing against a back four, whereas Ukraine you played against the four. Do you know, last night you played against the three. You probably played against a wee bit more a physical three last night.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know, in terms of Ireland, they're physical. You know, they're 4, 5, and 6 are physical, and I think he went for that physicality with Lyndon, and hopeful, you know, in terms of, you know, that aerial threat and people going down the sides of centre backs. Because the one thing with playing the three, if you know you have got a 9 who's going to flick things on, then you know the outside of that wide centre back and the right and the wide centre back and the left, you can get people into that area. And I think that was what I mean. I wasn't involved at all as none of us were, but I would suspect that that's probably what tipped the balance in London's favour. None's probably not so much the goals, but in terms of his physicality and what he won the evening.
And getting into the Ireland game, obviously there was a massive amount of build up to this game. Obviously, after you said about the result in June, where Ireland just completely run over the top of Scotland, but getting into that game, the first half, Ireland, I don't think Ireland were great. I don't think they're a good side, but I think Scotland. We didn't see the same intensity. We didn't see the same kind of going for the jugular. I thought Scotland were very standoffish and allowed Ireland to play their game. And obviously, they got their goal in the first half. What would you kind of summarise the first half?
I just thought we were too part. I thought our centre backs were too deep in the first half.
Mm.
I think when you play that shape that we're playing with, your two centre backs are crucial to get us up the pitch, so you can get, you know, Callum McGregor and McTominay higher, and we can go and be in their faces in their own half. So I thought we were probably 5 yards deep in the first half, and I thought we were too passive. I thought we were taking our touches back the park too much. You know, we're full backs, particularly in the left side with Kieran Tierney. You know, he was getting in, his touch was coming back the park and going back to centre backs. I thought we were a wee bit passive and just a wee bit too cautious in our play, and we're passing forward, and I just don't think we broke the lines with our passes enough. And then the second half, I thought we were a wee bit higher to start with, and we suddenly started getting into those, you know, those pockets, those 10s and the 7s coming in off the 7 and 11s coming in off the side, and finding those wee pockets just inside of Ireland where they didn't want to come in. You know, centre backs weren't sure where to sick or twist then, and I thought we caused them more bother in the second half.
And there was a lot more, as you say, there was a lot more bother in the second half. I thought the first goal was brilliant. Obviously, Jack Henry got his goal, but there was a lot. I think Ireland were a bit. Once Scotland got a foothold in the game, I don't think Ireland had much of a solution, and obviously it comes in with the penalty for 5 minutes to go, and Christie puts it away really calmly as well. Like it just felt like a massive result. Like it obviously felt after the summer where things weren't going great to get these 2 big victories at Hampden, and it's all going on to Tuesday night. But what a massive 3 points for Scotland on Saturday night.
Oh, it was massive, and listen, we get the equaliser, and then we deservedly go in front, and then, you know, things change games. You know, sometimes it can be a throw in, it goes the opposite way that you think it should, can change a game either for or against you. And then Callum McGregor's just slack with that one on the edge of the box, and he counter, and Craig Gordon, you know, makes a magnificent save, and that moments like that are important. Moments are important if you're going to be successful. Yes, you can play well. Yes, you can have, you know, a game of 2 halves. Like we were probably poor in the first half and a lot better in the second half. But you still need people to make big, you know, big moments, have big moments in games, whether that's offensively or defensively. And certainly that save for Craig Gordon was important at that time in the game, because I thought Ireland got another wee foothold just for 5-10 minutes. But then Scotland played their way through it after Craig's save, and deservedly, in my opinion, went on to win the game.
No, absolutely. I think it was a massive 3 points as well, and it obviously puts Scotland in the front foot for Tuesday night. We'll preview that at the end, but just a wee bit of news just while we've been on air. The Scotland, there has been a couple of pull-outs. Obviously, the likes of Kieran Tierney was pulled out injured. Scott McTominay's out as well. Barry Mackay, Stephen Kingsley for Hearts in the squad. How do you feel about their additions? Do you think they'll be well suited to this team?
Good. I mean, Barry Mackay's been called for a few weeks now. I think there was people calling when Steve announced the original squad. I like the lad Kingsley. I think he's a very good player. I think he's got good balance. I think he can play either that left centre back, or he can play that left back area. You know, I think he's a good player. I think he's got energy and intensity. I think he's aggressive defending. So no, I think he's a good addition. I think he deserved his call up. And Barry Mackay's obviously everybody, you know, both with Rangers and Hearts knows what Barry Mackay on his day can be one of those wingers that can go and really affect the game up that top end of the pitch. So no, two good additions to the squad. Disappointed was McTominay and Kieran Tierney, because that's real. You're losing for your squad, obviously, but I think the two additions are good additions.
Yeah, as you say, Tierney, McTominay are missing, but Patterson as well. I think Patterson's been a massive improver over the past few weeks, obviously Everton, and I thought he was excellent in the first half. Like, I really, until his injury against Ukraine, like, it's tough to replace those guys, and especially it's such a massive game. It's hard to see a lot of players kind of going out injured, but I mean, we just hope that they're in good shape. But obviously, it's all going on to Tuesday night against Ukraine. We'll touch on that at the end. But the thing with an international break, Stevie, is we can obviously do a bit of reflection on the season so far across the leagues, and there's no place to start other than the Premiership. Celtic are sitting 2 points clear. Obviously, had that blip against St Mirren just before the international break. How would you assess the opening few weeks of the Premiership season? We've obviously Celtic were 5 points clear. Rangers haven't been maybe up to the usual standard. It's been a weird kind of few weeks. Lights of Livingston have started well. How would you kind of assess the overall Premiership so far?
I think in terms of the performances, I think Rangers will possibly, and this is going to sound perverse because Celtic are sitting top of the league, but I think Rangers will probably a wee bit happier because they've probably no hit full gear. Gio Van Bronckhorst would be the first to accept that in the league. They've probably not got at it yet, as they know they can, and they'll believe that they can still come back and have their best period of the season, moving forward. So I think they'll probably be quite happy to be tucked in there behind Celtic. Celtic, everybody knows what Celtic's got. I think St Mirren was probably an off day. I heard Ange Postecoglou saying that it was the first defeat in a year. That's an incredible domestic record. So they'll feel they can get back at it. And then the teams in behind them, Hearts, Livingston, are doing really well. Stevie Hamilton over at Motherwell picked up a few results. So it's that batch in behind them are probably playing for those European places. But you would expect Celtic and Rangers, but over the piece, I just think Rangers will probably be happier with where they are and where the league position is, and that they're not too detached from Celtic in terms of probably not hitting that top gear as yet.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. I think Rangers, they haven't been great, and we've been on here a lot speaking about the kind of situation at the club just now, but I think the fact that it is only 2 points at the moment, it was 5 before that St Mirren game, I think there will be a wee bit of calmness back at Ibrox. But a few clubs I want to touch on the Premiership, and I want to get your thoughts on. I mean, it seems to be every season we talk about just how good Livingston perform with the kind of resources they've got, but David Martindale, for example, how much credit does he deserve for the job he's done at Livingston since he's been there?
I've known Davey for a long time. I worked against him in the lower leagues when he was playing his trade with behind Davy Hawkirk and other boys. As assistant manager, he then got the opportunity to take the job. And I think Scottish football fans now need to get away from this surprised element of Livingston. Yeah. Livingston are a good side. Livingston are a good side. Livingston have been to, was it 2 domestic semi-finals in recent years? Livingston are a good side. They continues. People say he continues to battle against the odds, but he just keep continuing to do it. He continues to grind out big results. His tenure, he's beat Celtic, he's beat Rangers. He's touched over Aberdeen, he's touched over Hibs. 1, you're a good manager if you do that, and 2, you've got a decent team at your disposal. So I think Davy Martindale and Livingston are there, in merit, and I just don't think they're a surprise package anymore, because I just actually think they're a very good Premier League side.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so. I think as well. He's been sensational so far in this season. Like kind of Joe Newbley. The thing with Livingston that catches my eye is they find these wee gems who you think at the time, what are they signing these players for? But they come in and they're so effective, and it just goes down to good management, and it's that simple. Good
management, good recruitment, Scott. Recruitment, because they've obviously got their pool that they want to look at and analyse. And some managers, like Celtic, it seems to be that Asian market, a South Asian market just now. Davy Martindale seems to be that lower leagues in England market. So every manager and every recruitment team will have the marketplaces, but certainly his marketplaces and the people he's got to looking at where he's looking at them is very good, because he's picked up some real gems over the years, as you say.
Yeah, absolutely. Another team I want to touch on, obviously, 2 teams towards the bottom of the league. Kilmarnock, obviously, 4 points from 7 games. Not at the start, I think a lot of people thought. And obviously, this week, a bit of kind of off-field situation with Kyle Lafferty. How difficult has it been the start for Kilmarnock? Has it been because one thing that catches my eye is the lack of goals they've got. I mean, I'm just looking here, they're -9 in goal difference, and they've only scored 3 goals in 7 games. That, if you want to hit the ground running in the league, you need to be scoring more goals, and they have the strikers to do it. I mean, Lafferty was there, Ollie Shaw, Christian Doidge. They have a lot of good players. What's been going on for Kelly so far, Jink?
I just don't think they've got going. I mean, listen, the one thing I will say is I rate Derek McInnes. I rated him at Aberdeen, and I rate him in Kilmarnock. And I think, you know, he obviously got Kilmarnock promoted last year. And I would suggest that you judge Derek in May, because I think in May most Kilmarnock fans, in my opinion, will be fairly, you know, they'll be fairly satisfied with the job that Derek does, because I actually think Kilmarnock will be fine. They've got to be realistic. You know, sometimes your expectations got to meet your reality, and I'm not sure Kilmarnock this year are a top 6 club. I've heard people talking about that, but I'm not sure. I think if Derek gets them near that, then he's done very, very well. But I think this year is about stability, it's about coming up, it's about solidifying the position in that Premier League, and then building on that. And I'm sure that's the way Derek and Tony see it also. But I just think Kilmarnock will be fine. I think in terms of that goal scorer, again, they've got good goal scorers at the club. The boy Doidge, he's only been in the building a couple of weeks. I like him. Do you know, I like him. I thought he did well for Hibs. I worked against him a couple of times when he was at Hibs with Stranraer, so I think he's in cup games. So I think he's a very, very good player, and I think he'll be a good addition. But with strikers need that 6, 7, 8 games, you know, to get themselves going. And I'm sure that the boy Doidge will, because he scored goals at this level, and I think that's what Derek and Tony will have brought him in for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I think they will hit the ground running. I think they will eventually just get it going. I think it's just been a difficult start, and there's nothing worse when your goal scorers, the guys you rely on, aren't in form. But once they get there, it's very hard to get them out of it. So I think Kilmarnock will actually turn the corner. The team bottom of the league have just made the permanent appointment of Liam Fox to become the permanent manager. But obviously, what I want to touch on with you is East Fife manager Stevie Crawford going there as his assistant. Were you surprised when you heard that? And what's your kind of overall thoughts on the whole appointment?
I wasn't surprised, because I know that Stevie and Liam have got history, and you know that there's a trust there, and ask any manager will tell you they like to bring in somebody who they trust, because you don't want to be a manager and never have wing mirrors on where you're looking over your shoulder saying what's he saying or what's she saying, behind my back. It's important that your background team is people you can trust with your life, and also there's more to Stevie than just that trust with Liam, because he obviously rates him as a coach and football knowledge that he's going to need at Dundee United. And Stevie's worked in most of his days, run about that top level in Scotland, and he's been a manager recently at Dunfermline, a big club. So I think he probably ticks a lot of boxes to come in as assistant manager, knows what a manager will want and need because he's been there. And I think Liam will see that in him as well. So hopefully it proves a good appointment, because I like Stevie Crawford. He's a good lad. I don't know the boy Liam Fox, but I wish him all the best, and I hope the two of them are successful there.
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting to see. I think it's an appointment as well. We saw it earlier on with Stevie Hamill. It's good to see, as opposed to kind of merry-go-round that we see with a lot of these appointments. It's like Stevie Hamill's come in, his first job at a club like Motherwell, which has obviously been there for years. Liam Fox again, just coming in to Dundee United in a really tough situation as well. I mean, I felt for Jack Ross. I think he was unlucky. I think just a lot of things weren't in his favour, but it's now Liam Fox has got a big opportunity to really kind of bring a bit of confidence back to that team. So it'll be really interesting to see that. But we'll move into the Championship. Ayr and Partick Thistle sit top on 14 points. Queen's Park in third and 13. Inverness and Dundee make up the top 5 with Raith and Morton. A very open league. There's only 4 points between first and fifth. Who's been the kind of eye catchers in the Championship so far?
I think Ayr United. I think Lee Brillon's done really, really well. We played them in pre-season a game, and you can't tell anything in pre-season. People get wax lyrical about results in pre-season. I've never understood that, because you can't tell anything. But you certainly listen to Lee Brillon and speaking to Lee Brillon. He was confident that by last year, coming in and keeping them in the Championship, that he could go and build and grow in that, and he kept a large majority of his players for last season. And I think that's crucial. People will think if you keep players that's finished in the kind of lower echelons of the league, that you're doing the wrong thing. I don't always think that's true. I think, if you can keep continuity and then build with that and add quality to that, then you'll give yourself a chance. And that's what he's done. And I think Ayr have probably been a wee bit of a surprise package for most players. for most people. Partick Thistle doesn't surprise me. Ian McCall again has got that continuity. There's players there that have been there a lot of years now, and he's added to 2 or 3 every year. He's not had to make mass changes, and that's since he was in League One. And you can see that he's just been building slowly, and Partick Thistle are in a good place. But both of them will tell you it's early days. But certainly United have surprised probably most people.
Yeah, I'll go for United as well. Queen's Park, I'm quite surprised about them. I know obviously they're ambitious and they've got a lot of kind of plans to be big in the next couple of years. But I think I don't know if I wouldn't say it was a surprise for them maybe going up last season. Like, I think I thought maybe in the summer they were maybe up a year too early, but they've hit the ground running really well. They're only a point behind top. They've kind of really caught my eye actually, because they obviously they do have the ambition, but they're certainly the recruitment I thought was a little wait a minute, are they planning and kind of just staying in the league and maybe going for it next year? But they've certainly showed so far that they're trying to compete at the top. They
absolutely are. Owen Coyne was recruited well. The boy Grant Savoury, we worked with him last year. He's a very good player. Plays in that kind of 10 role and goes and breaks lines and gets his. I see he scored today. I think he scored today in the cup game as well. Yeah. So, he's made 1 or 2 signings that probably people didn't know a great deal about, but just sometimes these signings can be the best signings. And I think again he kept most of the nucleus of his squad, and they seem to play a certain style as well. Queen's Park, they played it in League 2 and they played it in League 1, a style that probably catches people a wee bit by surprise, and I think they seem to be doing that in the Championship also.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll move into League 1 as well. The thing that catches my eye again with all the leagues is the competitiveness of it. There's only 4 points between first and sixth, and Fairmont, Airdrie, Alloa, Edinburgh, Montrose, Falkirk all in there. That is a really tough league. I think it's going to be so unpredictable this year.
Yes, I mean, I was saying Dumbarton. I remember speaking to Jim Duffy before I took the job, just having a play with Jim, and he said that it's just becoming more difficult every year, League One, and it is. It's possibly, arguably, the most competitive league in any of the 4 leagues. It's just so, because they're so tightly matched. You look at Montrose in there, teams that understand it. You look at Dunfermline in there, Falkirk in there. Falkirk Football Club have been in there for now 3 or 4 years. Who would ever have thought that they would find themselves in the 3rd tier of Scottish football for that long? But it's a hard division to go to, Scott. It's a hard division to compete in. And if you're going to, again, I said it earlier about League 2, but if you're going to be successful in League 1, then by God, you'll have earned it.
Oh, absolutely. I think it's a really stacked league. And League 2, obviously, we spoke about it earlier. You have obviously built up a 7-point league, but as you say, it's not just about getting that fast start. It's keeping the consistency going. And you know as well as I do, these clubs, the clubs behind you they're more than capable of putting a run together themselves, aren't they?
Of course they are. And listen, when a team kind of has the start that we've had, we're the ones that everybody's want to have a pop at and everybody's want to play against. We've seen that at Stranraer beat us fair and square last Tuesday night, but the reaction for the Stranraer players told you that it meant a lot to them. So that's what happens when you go in that run and you find yourself top of the league and probably one of the bigger clubs in the division as well. So we've just got to make sure that we keep that humility. We don't allow egos to get the better of us, and we just keep working really, really hard. And if we do that with the quality that's in the squad and we take one game at a time, then I genuinely believe that we can have a successful season.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a really competitive league, and as you say, I'm really interested to see how it's going to kind of work this season. But so, Stevie, we obviously opened the floor to the viewers and the fans when we announced you were coming on the show, and we got some questions, some entertaining questions, some serious. The first one I've got is, what is Stevie's overall thoughts on the pyramid system in Scottish football, with clubs like Stevie played for, like Cumnock, Irvine Meadow and co-winning, now getting a chance to prove themselves in the top leagues? What's your thoughts on the pyramid system? Do you think it's a good thing for Scottish football?
I do. I think it's a great thing. I do think, if I'm asked my honest opinion, I think there should be parity and fairness for the top division, the SPFL, Premier League, right down to the west of Scotland, or lower than that, the Conference Leagues, because whatever you do in one league, you should do in the other. I mean, I've never been a believer that, for instance, League One and the Championship should be playing, the Championship bottom clubs should be playing, the second, third and fourth of League One, and the same in League One and League Two, and then in the Premier League it's something quite different. I think it should be the same, and then I think it should be the exact same, identical, in terms of I think the bottom club for the SPFL, and I'm not going to be popular with my SPFL colleagues when I say this, but I think if you've been fair, that bottom club, if you finish bottom of the SPFL, then you need any club that finished bottom of the league should be relegated. I just feel that's my own personal football point of view. I think any club that finishes bottom of the league should be relegated, and then there should be an opportunity for the clubs in below who have done really well and finish in the top end to come up and play a playoff to be in that. I think if you're going to create a pyramid, then you've got to give the people at the bottom of that pyramid every opportunity to progress, and I'm not sure that Scottish football does that.
Yeah, I think you've got it spot on. I think as well, when you look at like the West, like a good example of that is obviously last season Darvel, Trinent, and St Cuthberts. They had to go through a 3-team playoff to get only one of them get through, and I think the other way of looking at that, and I agree with you, like if you finish bottom of your league, you should be relegated. But also, if you win your league and there's a chance to go up another level, you shouldn't have to go through a playoff. In my opinion, it should be. Now that the issue you've got with that is that more teams come down, but you can't have this thing of right. You win your league. I mean, St Cuthberts, I think, won the league by 20 points or something like that.
Yeah,
and they went up against Darvel and Trinent and were comfortably put away. So it's that thing of right. Are these South teams against the likes of the East and the West that we know have got a lot bigger budgets? They're never going to get that fair chance to go up the leagues. Like it's a weird way kind of Scottish football do it, in my opinion.
And I agree with that. And if that was the case, and obviously I wasn't part of that decision making, so I'm only forming one personal opinion on that. But why create the pyramid then? Why create the pyramid if you're not going to give these clubs the opportunity? Just don't create the pyramid in the structure that you did. It's important that the clubs that are successful are given the opportunity to progress. And I think in any walk of life, that's that people would say that's fair. It doesn't matter whether it's in football or any other sport. If you're successful and have a successful season and win your requisite league, then you should have the opportunity to progress. I don't think anybody can argue with that.
Absolutely. Quick question for you, Jordan, Orr, about your trip back to Townhead Park. How much are you looking forward to going back to Cumnock in the Scottish Cup, and what was your favourite memories of playing at the club?
I'm looking forward to being back, Scott. I'm no one. I think people know me most. I'm no one. I don't get really hung up in the past, and the past is past. And I've had some good times in the past, some bad times in the past, just like any other footballer, any other manager. And the memories are good, and the memories are bad, and that's what they are. But so there's no. On that day, I'll be Dumbarton back there trying to win a cup tie, and Brian McGinty, Cumnock manager, we try to win a cup tie against Dumbarton, and that's just the way football is. And so, in terms of that day itself, that will take care of itself. In terms of looking back at the club, I had a good time at the club. We got a Scottish Cup final. Probably look at it with a bit of sweetness because we got there against Bathgate and deservedly. I think we beat Auchinleck in the quarters. It's a good Auchinleck side in the quarters of the semis, and we got there in merit. And we were 1-0 up with 12 minutes to go, I think, and really actually total control of the game. I remember speaking to Darren Henderson about this, and Darren and I played in that game. And we were in complete control, we were comfortable, and then we lost a Paul McGrillen goal, God rest his soul. Paul scored the goal that probably since retrospectively it wasn't a goal, it wasn't over the line. And that's what we speak about earlier. You need the wee bits of luck, you need the wee things, wee moments in games that will go for you. And it went for Bathgate that day, and they went on to score the winner and win the cup. So great to take Cumnock. I mean, I say this about Cumnock and Kilwinning. I remember winning the cup with Kilwinning, and we went through the streets, and it was a magnificent night. But I remember getting beaten the cup with Cumnock and going through the streets of Cumnock and just thinking to myself quietly, my God, what if we had won this? Because the crowds that night in Cumnock, when we had been beat, if we had won it, I would love to see it, particularly with all the rivalry with Auchinleck and all those years of torture of watching their neighbours down the road win it so many times. I think if we'd managed to win it that night, or that day, I think the crowds would have been unbelievable in Cumnock that night. Yeah,
they absolutely would have been. Next question is from Alan Brown. Can you ask Steve about his time coaching the Kilmarnock prisoner team, and how good was it to give you lads a chance for something positive to look forward to?
Dana Brown, he's worked with me. Listen, they were great times. You never forget where you come from, the journey that you've taken, and it takes all sorts, and I don't forget that, or I try and not forget it, and try and forget where I came from. That was part of my learning. That was part of, I took them all in. They were like Josh's Giants, I remember, when I tried to start the prison team, and I went to see the governor to see if I could get them in a league, and he kind of raised his eyebrows, and I said it would obviously be all home games, which I managed to, the local team, I think it was a Cumnock and Auchinleck League or some Sunday league, I've got to thank them because they allowed the boys in to play, and we got them together and we started training, coaching, and it probably just took those boys for a year of their life, just something different, something. But what I will say, Scott, without naming names, there was one or two of the boys in that would have played, in my opinion, League One Championship easy. And that for that team that I had then, they were exceptional talents. And just life and bad decision making in life had led them the wrong path. But certainly in terms of when it came out with a ball, and it's unilateral with a ball in it. It doesn't matter what you've done in life. It doesn't matter where you're playing in a prison, or where you're playing out in the park, or where you're playing at Hampden. What you can do with a ball never changes. And these boys were excellent, and they ended up going and winning the league. It was a special year for the lads, and something to look back for. And I remember getting a lot of letters for the boys, personal letters, just thanking me. And I think I've still got one or the two of their letters. So a nice time to look back on.
Yeah, that's brilliant. A couple of kind of things that I think will give you a wee laugh. First and foremost, you'll probably know who that is, but it's worth obviously just letting you guess. Asked Stevie if he was happy I scored a hat-trick that day to win us the Super League, and that was the only honour he hadn't won to complete the set of all junior honours he had.
What with Charlie Adam, isn't it?
No, it's not actually.
John McMillan?
No.
Who is it? A hat-trick? I don't
Win
know.
the Super League.
Yeah, that was the day we beat Cumnock. We beat Cumnock 7-2, I think. We're doing 2-1 at half time. I'll not tell you who scored the equaliser, but it wasn't him, whoever it is. It was... No, we won 7-2. I don't know who it was who scored the hat-trick.
He won't mind me mentioning him. It's Ian Cashmore.
Oh, is it Cassie? Is it? I should have known. I should have. Listen, I'm trying to think of all the boys who like, and I've got to say I've got egos. So there was Adams in my view, and there was McMillan in my view, but my mind, sorry. So I know Ian Cashmore. Listen, it was good because I played in a very, very successful team. I was lucky when I left Stennismuir. I kind of dropped into co-winning at a time where, in my opinion, there wasn't a better team at that team for probably 5 or 6 years. I think we won the league 5 years out of 6 or something. So I was very, very fortunate to play with a special group of people and players at that time. And Ian Cashmore was one of them. What a player. I mean, to be what a kid, what a great lad, and a fantastic goal scorer. And what's great? He's 39, 40 now, and he's trying to organise a game, a kind of benefit game in the coming months. And I was speaking to him on a text the other day there, and he's still got an unbelievable passion for the game.
And he still does it.
He's 40 and he's telling me about scoring goals for his amateur team. And that just tells you why the boys had a decent career at that level, because he just loved doing what he did.
Absolutely.
He'll give me pelters that I've forgot that he scored a hat-trick.
Final question. Where does Graham Dempsey rank in terms of managers you've came across?
That's John Gemmell, isn't it? Listen, that's another lad. Again, people criticise him, but I think, the people who criticise him all love him at the same point. They all love him, they all love his enthusiasm. He takes an over 35s team where he gets pelters, and he's trying to get a load of 50-year-olds, 45-year-olds who are past playing, get other things to do on a Friday night, and he's trying to bring them together, make them through in the group chat and try to get friendly games, and he's keen as mustard. And I was delighted for him to get an opportunity there at Lugar with George Wallace, because he's a great lad and he wants to learn. He's a sponge, he wants to learn. He's wanting to ask questions all the time, and he's and I just thought Gems would probably ask that question of Dems. But no, he's a good lad, very good lad.
Yeah, absolutely, really, really good guy. Always nice to talk to about the channel as well. And it's obviously been great to have you on, Stevie. But we're kind of getting to the stage where I kind of need to ask you, but give us a prediction for Tuesday's game. Obviously, Ukraine away, a win, and it's pretty much a playoff in the Nations League, a chance to qualify for the Euros. Give us a prediction. I want to put you in the spot. Will Scotland do it?
Listen, I'm always optimistic. I really am. I know we've got too many pessimists in this country, but I just don't want us to get too carried away with the 2 results that we've had. I think to play 3 elite level games in the space of 6 days is really, really difficult, and don't underestimate how hard that is. So it'll be interesting to see his squad rotation and who picks for the game. But I think if we're really hard to beat and our shape's really good defensively, then I think we can go there first and foremost and be stubborn in the game and hopefully nick that one up the top end of the pitch that gives us the result that we want. And I think at least we can get a draw. So I'm optimistic we can finish on Tuesday night, at the end of Tuesday night as group leaders, which would be fantastic.
Yeah, I think a draw would be a great result. And obviously, Stevie, it's been an absolute pleasure to be on the show, and we're wishing you all the best to the season ahead with Dumbarton. Thank you very much for joining me.
Cheers, Scott. Thank you.
Thank you. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thanks to everyone that's tuned in. Please follow us on social media and subscribe to our YouTube and podcast channels. Thank you very much, everyone. We'll see you soon. Cheers.